Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you by MegaPixx Media. Joining me today is Duane Bratt, who is a political science professor at the Mount Royal University in Calgary. Thanks for joining us, Duane.
You're welcome, Mario.
Well, lots of going on in the political world here in Alberta. Point blank question, Duane, is Jason Kenney's days numbered as premier?
I think he is. I think he wiggled out yesterday. There was a motion of non-confidence that the UCP caucus was ready to vote on. It got tabled because Jason Kenney has agreed to an expedited leadership review. It was supposed to have been in November of 2022. Now it looks like it will be in March of 2022. That still is about 6-7 months away from now. He claimed in the caucus meeting of the leaks that have emerged that he does believe a new leader is going to be necessary, but he wants a clean slate for that leader. And he believes that he's the one who can deal with the fourth wave and allow for a new leader to come in. That's one charitable way of viewing the decision. I think a more uncharitable view is that he is playing for time in the hopes that 6 or 7 months from now, he will have been able to mobilize his allies and be able to succeed in a leadership review.
Do you think he has any chance of survival?
Oh, he has a chance of survival within the party, but the party is done in the 2023 election. I know that's a year and a half away, but people are not going to forget the death toll that COVID has had and how it is higher in Alberta than elsewhere. They're not going to forget the open for summer, open forever pledge that was violated. So he's upset people who believe that there should have been no vaccine mandates, there should have been no vaccine passports, that he promised that it was over, and they don't forgive him for that. And then there's another group of people who believe that he acted way too late and he should have responded in mid-August, early September, instead of mid-September.
So what kind of a role do you think he also played in the federal election results?
Oh, I think he did play a role in that. And we can just look at Alberta itself. The Conservatives still won 30 seats, but last time they won 33 seats in Alberta. Last time they got 69% of the vote. This time they got 55% of the vote. I think a lot of that was an anti-Kenney vote. Outside of Alberta, I think it allowed for Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh to connect Erin OToole to Jason Kenney, to argue that if O'Toole had been prime minister during COVID, he would have responded in a similar fashion as Kenney. And O'Toole refused to respond. There was a disastrous press conference that Erin OToole had in New Brunswick last Thursday, and he was asked for 15 minutes about his previous endorsements of Jason Kenney, and he never mentioned Kenney's name, never mentioned Alberta's name. It's like he'd never heard of the guy. And I think that hurt Erin OToole deeply.
Okay. As you look at the provincial picture, Duane, who's waiting in the wings, and who are possible successors?
I mean, that's kind of the problem, right? I think there are people who would like to be a successor, but this is a very difficult party to govern. I mean, there's cleavages, rural, urban, ideological versus more pragmatic, and even finding a replacement for Kenney in the interim period, I think, is a very difficult process. We're hearing Travis Taves' name being floated about, that he would be acceptable to the rural caucus as someone from Grand Prairie, and he'd be acceptable to the Calgary caucus for the same reason. He has less drama about him. He could lower the temperature. But the problem is a lot of the other people are either supported by one group or supported by the other group. So a Doug Schweitzer may be popular in Calgary, but not so much in rural Alberta. Jason Nixon may be popular in rural Alberta and not so much in Calgary. Then you've got people outside of the party. Brian Jean continues to lurk around. He's kicking the tires about running in the by-election in Fort McMurray. I don't think he's ever gotten over losing the leadership race to Jason Kenney. And we'll have to see if there's other people that are recruited. It wouldn't be in the interim process. It would be in a full leadership race, but we're not even there yet. Let's see what happens at the review. Let's see what happens over the next 6 months.
Let's switch gears for a second here and talk federal politics. Do you think Erin OToole survives a leadership challenge?
You're already hearing calls from the executive, people going on the record saying it is time to remove Erin OToole. And the argument they're making is that he tried to moderate the party on, let's say, climate change, and in the end did worse than Andrew Scheer did 2 years ago. And so maybe they think that if they had a true blue, red-blooded conservative like a Pierre Poilievre, that they may have done better in the election. I'm not sure of that. I think OToole ran a good campaign for about 3 weeks, then got caught up on the issue of guns, then got caught up in the issue of vaccine mandates, then got caught up in the issue of Jason Kenney. And perhaps a second go round would be beneficial to the Conservatives and beneficial to Erin OToole. Yeah. But there are people not happy with OToole right now, that's for sure.
So the Liberals, win this election, as they do many elections, because of their base in Montreal and the suburbs, and of course the GTA. And what do the Conservatives have to do to break through in, say, Southern Ontario?
That's the big question the Conservatives have to reconcile with. I mean, they chose Erin OToole as leader. Erin OToole is in the suburbs of Toronto, just outside of Oshawa. He said because he lived in the 905, he could deliver the 905. But he didn't. In fact, they lost seats in the process. OToole tried to move the party to the center, to remove climate change from the agenda, to try to get rid of the divisiveness around guns, and it didn't work. If you look at the Conservatives right now, they don't have seats in Montreal, they don't have seats in Toronto, they don't have seats in Vancouver, they lost seats in Calgary, they lost seats in Edmonton. The Conservatives are in danger of simply becoming a rump party, a rural rump party. They did pick up seats, but they picked up seats in rural Atlantic Canada, right? And so that's the challenge the Conservatives have, because people weren't happy with Justin Trudeau. They may be happy with the Liberals, they may be happy with pledges of childcare, they may be happy with COVID money, but they're surely not happy with Justin Trudeau. And the Conservatives have now had back-to-back elections to get rid of a very wounded Justin Trudeau, and they were unable to do it. So where do they go? Where do they go next?
And speaking of which, any thoughts on who could come in and replace OToole?
Yeah, I mean, you're hearing Poilievre's name a lot. He was very active in criticizing the Liberals in the pre-writ period, and then he seemed to just drop that once the writ began. He is bilingual. He represents a Ottawa riding, but has strong roots in Alberta. His kids are, at least one of them is a bit older now, but he just had another one. So what are the challenges of a guy like Poilievre? I don't know. They only had 4 people run the last time. And Peter MacKay's not going to do it again. Erin OToole may do it again. Derek Sloan's no longer even a member of the party. Maybe Leslyn Lewis. I don't know what the Conservatives do, but it's a tough group to manage. And I think there's a reason that the Liberals win more elections than not.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thanks again, Duane, for joining us.
Okay. You're welcome, Mario.
All right, that was Duane Bratt, political science professor at Mount Royal University. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you by MegaPixx Media. Thanks for joining us.